It's an honor to have Haseeb, the managing partner of Dragonfly, to 160AX. Pleasure to meet you, Haseeb.
Pleasure to meet you as well.
So let's talk about Kyle Samani leaving Web3 industry. I think you're kind of a little bit sad about that.
Yeah. I've known Kyle. It's funny, he was actually the first VC I ever met when I came into crypto. I met him first in 2017. He was just starting his career as an investor. And he and I were very different from each other, but we came up in the industry at the same time. And so I kind of watched his evolution as a VC. And it's very much, in many ways, similar to the way that I've modeled my career. Kyle, like me, he was an outsider. He didn't have any investment background, didn't have any pedigree, didn't come from some great firm. He was just kind of a guy who figured it out, built his own personal brand by just saying out loud what he thinks and never taking no for an answer. Very contrarian, very strong personality. So I always had a lot of respect for Kyle, even though we disagreed about almost everything. In that sense, we could not be more different. But seeing him leave for me was very melancholy because I saw him as a competitor, as a rival. And it feels a little bit like, both he and I, we entered in this industry when we were young men, like in our mid-20s, we came into the space. And at that time, everything was so dreamy and everybody was so future looking. And now the space has grown up. Now BlackRock is in the space and you've got JP Morgan launching their own tokenized dollar.
Is it what you guys imagined?
In some ways, it wasn't what we imagined. In some ways, we imagined this crazy, sci-fi future that we were chasing at the time that we came into crypto. In other ways, it's become much more successful than we ever imagined it would.
Really?
Like
How?
I remember looking at stable coins when they were like a few $100 million. Now they're 300 billion.
Yes.
Now the Treasury Secretary is talking about stable coins hitting 3 trillion at the end of the decade, becoming 15% of the money supply. We thought we were breaking the rules. Turns out now we're making the rules. It's in a way, it's like we almost like won too much. And in that sense, it's weird, right? It's a little bit like, it's like we were mountaineers climbing to the top of this mountain. And then now there's like tour buses taking, Chinese grandmas up to the peak. And like, in a way, it's like, okay, we won, but there's a kind of bittersweetness to seeing the way in which it happened, And again, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. I've been incredibly fortunate. Kyle's been incredibly fortunate. But that's why, for me, it feels kind of melancholy to see him go.
But is it so? You think AI, because you said crypto needs AI needs crypto.
Yeah.
So what is your take on that? Because AI is attracting a lot of capital and a lot of tension from the capital market.
Yeah. I mean, to be clear, I think that's correct. AI is the most important technology of the 21st century. But like with many things, it interplays with other technologies, right? So AI needs a lot of energy. It needs the internet itself. The internet was the necessary precondition for LLMs to have all this data to suck up. And the same thing is true for crypto. When agents become competent enough to engage into commerce, how are agents going to interact with each other monetarily? How are they going to engage in economic relationships? The answer is probably not going to be with fiat currency because your agent and my agent don't use the same currency, don't use the same banking system, right? Like if you're based in Hong Kong or you're based in mainland China, how is my agent going to work with your agent? Right? The answer was there from the beginning, which is crypto. Crypto, in many ways, was created more for machines than it is for humans, right? Even think about a smart contract. If your agent and my agent want to enter into an agreement, they're not going to sign a legal contract.
Yes.
Right? Why won't they sign a legal contract? Well, first of all, I don't know what jurisdiction you're in or what jurisdiction your agent is in. I don't know how I'm going to take your agent to court. Right?
My jurisdiction is probably from one of the most, contrary part of the world.
Yeah.
Taiwan.
Taiwan.
We're from Taiwan.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So
most dangerous place on the world.
Well, like, look, if you have a Taiwanese agent, where's my agent going to take your agent to court? Also, if we sign a legal agreement, who's going to enforce it? What court is going to enforce it? And let's say we get into a disagreement and we do, you're American, I'm American. Okay. Then, okay, maybe I can sue you. But if I'm going to sue you, it's going to take months, file a lawsuit. We both got to hire expensive lawyers. Then we got to go to a court system. It's going to take years to work its way through the courts. And you and I, we are processing transactions like that. Our brains move much faster than human brains. Courts were designed to work at human speed. Agents don't work at human speed. They work much faster than human speed. That is the reason why I think actually the story about smart contracts being a replacement for law works much better for AI agents than it does for human beings. Because an AI agent can actually read the smart contract. It actually understands the smart contract and it understands it better than it understands the law. The law is stochastic, right? What is a judge going to say? What is a jury going to say? I don't know. It depends on the jury. But smart contract always says the same thing every time as long as you understand the code.
Predictable.
Exactly.
So speaking of that, do you think we are at this J curve? You know, Andrew Kang said that we are at this J curve where AI is going to increase the economic productivity and all those stuff dramatically in the next few years. We're going to reach artificial super intelligence ASI era. You think we're reaching that?
So it's always a matter of what you mean by we're about to. If about to means in 2 years, no. If about to means in 10 years, possibly. If about to means within 20 to 30 years, almost certainly. So everything depends on timeline, right? I mean, when ChatGPT first launched in 2022, November 2022, many people around that time predicted that we were a few years away from AGI.
Mhm.
We're now almost 4 years from when ChatGPT was launched. Is this AGI? Maybe. I mean, if it is, it's like, it's cool. Doesn't show up in GDP, doesn't show up in unemployment. It's, all these stories that people were telling about how it's going to be so disruptive to society. Well, here we are. Does society look disrupted to you? It looks pretty fine to me. You walk around Hong Kong, everything looks okay.
Yeah.
Buildings aren't on fire. It's like there's not mass unemployment. Now, that's not to say these things won't happen. But if you look, for example, at the Industrial Revolution, the most consequential event in human history with respect to economic growth, okay, from the commercialization, not the invention, the commercialization of the steam engine. You know how long it took for the Industrial Revolution to have an effect on GDP?
100 years?
50 years.
50 years.
It took 5 decades. 5 decades.
Not until
right?
the beginning of 19th century, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It did not, it took 50 years for it to have any measurable effect on society, right? Until then, all the people writing blog posts, they didn't have blogs back then, but the equivalent of blog posts about, oh my God, it's going to be the end. Exactly. All those people were too early, right? So AI is going to be massively disruptive technology, but the question of when is very unclear. And so I think you want to be careful in drawing the line out or drawing the slope of the line too aggressively without having good reason to believe that that's already true.
Got it. And you mentioned timeline and you mentioned 2022, which makes me think of FTX collapse. So you just tweeted that, oh, currently the market, the fundamentals of crypto is still good. And, it's still way better than when FTX collapsed, when people think the whole market, like, is, we're basically questioning ourselves. So what do you think about the market currently?
So it is a tough market.
Yeah.
And I don't want to downplay that because it's very, very difficult for people who got into the space and who are driven by all the excitement and all the momentum in going on in the industry and then seeing prices move against them. People see prices as a report card and they think, okay, bad prices did a bad job. And if you've been in the space long enough, you know that that's not true. You know that prices move up and down regardless of what's happening in the space. And if you zoom out long enough, you see that, the downturn happened kind of right on time with respect to the 4-year cycle, with respect to the natural cyclicality that you see in the crypto industry. And actually, we've had downturns in alts every year for the last 3 years, right? And then, alts went all the way down to going back all the way up in 2023 after the ETFs launched, in 2024 going into the election, 2025 again through the ups and downs of the tariff cycle. So here we are now. There's a downturn. People don't have a really good, satisfying story of why we're going through this. And I think that's why it hurts so much, because people don't have a satisfying story. But oftentimes in crypto is momentum driven. It's autocorrelated.
Is it because of the October 11th event back last year?
So very clearly something happened on October 11th that changed the trajectory of the market. Now, what happened and how does it explain this? We don't have a great answer. We know that a bunch of exchanges went down.
Mhm.
We know that we had the single largest day of liquidations in crypto history. But why has that led to this long-term divergence in the price, where it's no longer, if you look at the Bitcoin price versus the Nasdaq
Mhm.
versus the S&P 500,
Diverging.
exactly, it diverged right around the time that 10/11 took place. So that tells you something in the market structure shifted, and we don't have a good story why. We may learn at some point, or it may just be that, look, sometimes prices just go where prices go. Momentum is very strong in the space. So when the momentum starts in one direction, it keeps going. But when momentum starts on the way back up, it also keeps going.
Great. So is there anything you want to say to our audience? Like,
Only thing I'd say is that look, number one lesson you learn in crypto is the importance of surviving.
surviving.
As long as you survive, as long as you stay at the table, you get to see what happens. The only way you can lose in crypto is by getting taken out. So as long as you don't get taken out, you get a seat. And as long as you get a seat, you get to enjoy the food.
Don't be liquidated.
That's right.
Okay, great. Pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.